All right, we'll go on the record. This is a deposition of Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell conducted by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform under the authority granted to it pursuant to House Rule 10. Accordingly, House Rule 10 grants the committee broad jurisdiction for the committee to conduct investigations of any matter at any time. On July 22nd, 2025, the Subcommittee on Government Operations of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform voted by voice to approve a motion directing the chairman to authorize and issue a subpoena to Ghislaine Maxwell for a deposition. On July 23rd, 2025, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell to appear today for a deposition in furtherance of the committee's investigation into the actions and investigations of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell. I will enter the subpoena and corresponding cover letter as Exhibit 1. I will enter as Exhibit 2 a letter dated July 29th, 2025 from David Oscar Marcus, counsel for Ms. Maxwell, stating in short that his client would invoke her Fifth Amendment rights and request for the deposition to occur after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition. I will enter as Exhibit 3 a letter dated August 1st, 2025 from Chairman Comer to David Oscar Marcus, stating that the committee would continue its good faith negotiations and postpone Ms. Maxwell's deposition pending the resolution of her Supreme Court petition. I will enter as Exhibit 4 a letter dated January 20th, 2026 from 2026 from David Oscar Marcus to Chairman Comer outlining that his client still intended to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. The committee noticed today's deposition on February 4th, 2026. I will enter the notice for this deposition as Exhibit 5. Can the witness please state her name and spell her last name for the record?
Before she does that, this is David Marcus, and I just wanted to introduce her and make a brief statement. So members of the committee, on my advice, Ghislaine Maxwell will respectfully invoke her Fifth Amendment right to silence and decline to answer questions today, even though she would very much like to answer your questions. She must remain silent because Ms. Maxwell has a habeas petition currently pending that demonstrates her conviction rests on a fundamentally unfair trial. For example, jurors lied during voir dire to secure seats on the jury, and the government promised immunity and then broke that promise. Newly discovered documents now demonstrate these facts conclusively. If this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide a complete account, and some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. Thank you, members of the committee, for having us today. Ms. Maxwell can now proceed to answer her questions with the Fifth Amendment. Thank you.
And the witness please state her name and spell her last name for the record.
Ghislaine Noel Marion Maxwell, Maxwell.
Thank you. My name is Jack Emmer, and I am the Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman Comer. Under the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform's rules, you are allowed to have a counsel present to advise you during this deposition. You have a counsel representing you in a personal capacity present with you today.
Correct.
Will counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Go ahead, Leah. You can go first.
Leah Safian, Leahsaffian.
Thank you, Jack. This is David Marcus here, and my colleague Melissa Madrigal is also present.
Thank you. For the record, starting with the majority staff, can the additional staff members please introduce themselves with their name, title, and affiliation? Starting with the majority, can members of Congress please identify themselves for the record?
James Comer, Chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Andy Biggs, Arizona, 15th Congressional District. Williamson in South Carolina Fourth Congressional District.
Melanie Stanford, Congresswoman, New Mexico First Congressional District.
I, Raja Krishnamurthy, Illinois 8th District.
James Walkinshaw, Virginia's 11th District. Suhas Silverline, Virginia's 10th District.
Ro Khanna, California 17th District.
Robert Garcia, Ranking Member, Oversight.
Thank you all. Ms. Maxwell, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they choose. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. The clock will stop if you need to confer with counsel, your counsel is speaking, and when members or staff are speaking during the opposing side's rounds of questions. We will alternate back and forth until there are no more questions. Do you understand?
I do.
There is a court reporter taking down everything I say and everything you say to make a written record for the interview. For the record to be clear, please wait until the staffer questioning you finishes each question before you begin your answer, and the staffer will wait until you finish your response before proceeding to the next question. Further, to ensure the court reporter can properly record this deposition, please speak clearly, concisely, and slowly. Also, the court reporter cannot record nonverbal answers such as nodding or shaking your head. So it is important that you answer each question with an audible verbal answer. Do you understand?
I do.
We had a member just join. Can they identify themselves for the record? Thank you. Exhibits may be entered into the record. Majority exhibits will be identified numerically. Minority exhibits will be identified alphabetically. Do you understand?
I do.
We want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful manner possible, so we will take our time. If you have any questions or do not fully understand the question, please let us know. We will attempt to clarify, add context to, or rephrase our questions. If we ask about specific conversations or events in the past and you are unable to recall the exact words or details, you should testify to the substance of those conversations or events to the best of your recollection. If you recall only a part of a conversation or event, you should give us your best recollection of those events or parts of conversations that you do recall. Do you understand?
I do.
You are required by law to answer questions from Congress truthfully. This also applies to questions posed by congressional staff in this deposition. Do you understand?
I do.
If at any time you knowingly make false statements, you could be subject to criminal prosecution, including but not limited to perjury. Do you understand?
I do.
This includes both knowingly providing false testimony, but also stating that you do not recall or remember something when in fact you do. Do you understand?
I do.
Furthermore, you cannot tell half-truths or exclude information necessary to make statements accurate. You are required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute as a false statement. Do you understand?
I do.
Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview?
Well, as you know, she's going to take the Fifth Amendment. So that's our caveat to that question.
Please note that if you wish to assert a privilege or any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Pursuant to that, Committee Rule 16C1 states, for the chair to consider assertions of privilege over testimony or statements, witnesses or entities must clearly state the specific privilege being asserted and the reason for the assertion on or before the scheduled date of testimony or appearance. For the purposes of the deposition, objections must be stated concisely and in a non-argumentative and non-suggestive manner. If the witness refuses to answer a question to preserve a privilege, the committee may seek a ruling from the chair. If the chair overrules any such objection, the witness shall be ordered to answer. If the witness continues to refuse to answer a question despite being ordered to do so, the witness may be subject to sanction. Do you understand?
I do.
Ordinarily, we take a 5-minute break at the end of each hour of questioning, but if you need a longer break or a break before that, please let us know and we will be happy to accommodate. However, to the extent that there is a pending question, we would ask that you finish answering the question before we take the break. Do you understand?
I do.
Finally, I will note for everyone here today that the contents of what we discuss in the deposition today is confidential under the House deposition regulation. Under the rules, the chairman and ranking member, minority members shall consult before any release of testimony or transcripts, including portions thereof. This means it is a violation of House committee rules to disclose the contents of the deposition prior to its official release. For this reason, the marked exhibits that we will use today will remain with the court reporter so that they can go into the official transcript, and any copies of those exhibits will be kept at the table or returned to us when we wrap up. Can the reporter please swear in the witness?
You solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Madam Court Reporter, we could not hear you well, and I'm sure Ms. Maxwell could not hear you. I don't know if there's a way to give the court reporter a mic so that, thank you very much.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Ms. Maxwell, do you have any questions before we begin?
I do not.
The time reads 10:14 and the majority's time will begin now. Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you and Jeffrey Epstein attempt to surround yourselves with influential individuals to curry favor and shield yourselves from potential scrutiny?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, can you please provide us with all the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes perpetuated by you and Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
The answer to that is yes also. So just as her lawyer, I'll tell you, yes, that's her intention.
Does the minority wish to ask any questions? We will go off the record.
We can go back on the record. Good morning, Ms. Maxwell. My name is
Good
John.
morning.
Good morning. My name is. I just have a few questions on behalf of the minority as well. At any point during your personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, were you aware that Mr. Epstein was sexually abusing minors and adult women?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Have you ever facilitated the sexual abuse of any minor or adult woman by Mr. Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Have you ever participated in the sexual abuse of any minor or adult woman?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Are you aware of Donald Trump ever engaging in sexual activity with an individual introduced to him by you or Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Okay, it appears that the committee will not receive substantive answers from you at this deposition. So at this point, I'd like to enter into the record as minority exhibits A and B, letters that the committee has received from survivors of Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell's abuse. These letters speak to the survivors' horrific experiences and to their desires for transparency, accountability, and justice in this investigation. We hope for their sake that we are ultimately able to get the answers that they deserve and that we were unable to get here today. Finally, I'd like to enter into the record as Minority Exhibit C, a letter from Representative Ro Khanna dated February 8th, 2026. And with that, we can go off the record.
We'll go back on the record. Ms. Maxwell, considering your invocation of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination pursuant to the terms of the subpoena, you are excused.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Chairman Comer. Appreciate you.
Thank you. We'll go off the record.